The giant Optus hack. Well, that took a bizarre turn today. We had some hackers steal personal details of nearly 10 million Australians from Optus, the telecommunications provider, and then try to blackmail Optus. Give us $1 million or we will release the names and personal details of your customers, 10,000 at a time. And the hacker did overnight release the first 10,000 names with details including even passport numbers, Medicare numbers, driver's license numbers. But then it suddenly backtracked. It seems. The person claiming to be the hacker said they were deleting the stolen data. The blackmail was over without any ransom paid. And the hacker, who can't spell, said sorry to 10,200 Australians whose data was leaked. Australia will see no gain in this fraud. This can be monitored, maybe for 10,200 Australians. But rest of the population, no, very sorry to you. Deepest apology to Optus for this. Hope all goes well from this. Joining me is Sky News Business Editor Ross Greenwood, host of Business Today, weekdays on Sky News. Ross, thank you so much indeed for joining me. Can anyone believe this, that the stolen data won't now be used by the hacker or anyone who then maybe sells it on to?
Yeah, it's pretty tough to really believe that. And, given what's taken place today, you've got to come to the conclusion that either A, the ransom was paid, but we today went to Optus, specifically asked, did you pay a ransom? And Optus came back with a one-word response, which was no. So then the second thing is, did the hacker sell that database to somebody else on the proviso that they took it down? Now, remember, this is 10,200 names, and the promise, as you said, was that each day for 4 days another 10,000 names would be released. But just 1 hour after the first 10,000 names, highly sensitive information that was in there, including Medicare numbers, including driver's license numbers, passport numbers. There were also emails there that were the Defence Department emails, even from the Prime Minister's own department there were emails. So this is really sensitive information. So for the hacker to have taken it down, notwithstanding what they have said about, this all got a bit big and, we could be potentially tracked, you get a sense that somewhere there must be an incentive for that hacker who has been in it for the money to take it down.
Although the language suggests anything from a mental defective to a child to a Nigerian, I don't know. The language is quite bizarre unless it's a deliberate attempt to confuse us as to who it is. What could crooks do with this data?
For example, they could steal your identity with having two forms of identification, a passport number and a Medicare number, for example. They could pretend that they were you. They could get into your bank accounts. They could potentially apply for a new passport if they had enough information about you. They could really effectively take over your life. That would be the greatest risk here. And this is the question that Optus now really genuinely has to answer. The question about how this information was able to be obtained. They said, the hacker, as you pointed out, that, we probably shouldn't have scraped this in the first place. And a scrape it was. This, according to the government, is no, if you like, really particularly complex hack. This is something that's pretty basic. Optus says something different, that it is elaborate. But you get the sense, and I've talked to a lot of people about it today, that it is actually something that's more straightforward, that should have been more secure, and quite clearly should have been secure enough that the private information of these people was never released. That should be almost part of the contract between the company and the individual when you sign up to any goods or services in this country.
Ross, I'm out of time, but just a quick response. The OECD has put out a report predicting really hard times around the world over the next year or so, and also some bad news for Australia.
So a global recession almost seems inevitable now, led by the UK and Europe and probably the United States as well. Here in Australia, the OECD says our economic growth rate next year will slow from 2.5% was its previous forecast, will now be 2% according to its current forecast. And what that means is it's likely that that's caused by the Reserve Bank having to raise interest rates even higher than expected. And right now, many economists are raising their forecasts for the maximum of the cash rate to over 3.5%.
I think that news suggests that the government should get serious about the economy and cost of living issues rather than some of the issues it has been chasing. And maybe the Prime Minister could come back to Australia for a bit longer than he used to, has been doing so far. Ross Greenwood, thank you so much for your time.
Quite okay.